Hello everybody! Uh, Welcome back to my video blog. Sorry. I'm listening to a quite rare, I think, album that I found on a trip up to my former hometown Luleå, and it's one of these compilation albums with very local rock and pop groups. And this is an album called Rocken tar tag, which means, well, something like the rock grabs you. It's bands from the town Gävle, and I think the group I'm listening to now, the first track is Jane, in a group called Jane Insane. When I checked through the different groups of this album, not that many that I actually know of, but still a fun record to find, and I think it's fun to listen to these quite unknown groups. So, great finding. Right, this has been a very, very warm and long summer. I have, I think, 11 days left until I start work again. I haven't made that many videos. I've tried to do some videos, but in the end it's been way too hot to be able to formulate in a different language. Sometimes I had big problems for talking in Swedish as well. But still, I've been buying quite a nice bunch of records during this summer, and I'm not going to show you all I found because I'm going to focus on stuff that I've been listening to, and yeah. So let's start. First one is a record I found up in Luleå, and it's with the wonderful Suzi Quatro. It's a compilation called the Suzi Quatro Story Golden Hits. This is on the, is it called Rack or is it RAK? I'm not sure. Label. I think it's a Swedish pressing. The sleeve is pressed in by Sivtryck, Tumba. So I think this is all Swedish. I found a quite scarce compilation album with the Swedish rock and roll group Hepstars. How it all started on the Eiffel label. And obviously a budget album even back then in 1970, with early materials from the popular rock group. When they were more of a rock group, they became more of a pop group later. One interesting thing is that the sleeve, this drawing here, was made by a very young woman called Py Bäckman, who would later become a very famous songwriter in Sweden and also singer in her own right. And I had no idea that she had made this drawing, but it's quite nice. Yeah. Oh yeah, I went to Uppsala, north of Stockholm, yesterday, and I go to Uppsala around once every year, and I managed to find good stuff every time, and I'm going to show you some of those that I've been able to listen to. This is an album that I've been looking for so long. You may know that I'm a great fan of British comedy, and this is not only Peter Cook but also Dudley Moore from 1965, Decca, Red Label Mono. Some great sketches here. Apparently, almost everything from this TV show has been wiped from the BBC archive, so you can't even see these sketches. So lucky that they were issued on records as well. Although I think I've seen one or two of the sketches on YouTube, but still, brilliant comedy, especially the number about teaching ravens how to fly underwater. I mean, that's my kind of humor. And great shape. And yeah, I'm not going to talk more about that. I've been into Lindisfarne lately. Started to try to find albums by them. Maybe I'm going into a folk music phase now. Many things point to that when you check the different records I've been listening to lately. This is Lindisfarne, Dingley Dell. It's an Italian pressing. The sleeve is not that pretty, but the record is great. And it's on Charisma. Very great group. I'm still looking for their absolute first album, but in Uppsala, or was it in Uppsala, or was it in Stockholm? I don't remember. But I've been able to find Fog on the Tyne as well. So, but I haven't been able to listen to that yet. Yeah, let's see now. I'm going to take this in a specific order. If I can find it here. No, I couldn't. I went to see my great friend Andreas Falkis 1984 here on YouTube if you want to check his videos. Had a nice long sitting with him. We had coffee, we talked about records, we listened to records. We had a great time. And I had brought him some LPs with, I think, well, Louis Armstrong, because I know that he's a real fan of that. And we made a swap. I got this Elvis Forever on RCA International. I have an 80s pressing of this that doesn't contain this paper or this booklet. So he gave it to me, and that's very kind of him. This is apparently the Elvis LP that sold most in Sweden of all time, and well, it's a great compilation, so why not? Yes, well, next album is this Joan Vent. The black and white of it is blues. American record on A&M. Although you see the title of the album here, if you check the record label, it says Funky Lady. It's the same record though. And it's a very funky lady and a funky album. From what I've seen on Google or internet, I didn't know anything about this singer when I found it. Is that she was mainly a backup singer, and this was her only solo album. She had a bit of a thing for Billie Holiday, because you can both find God Bless the Child and Gloomy Sunday on this album. But great singer. Glad I found it. Then an American issue of the British, well, bubblegum pop group Piccadilly Witch. It's on Janus. And well, quite nice to listen to, although not in any way brilliant. But when we come to brilliant, I have to, well, I think everybody who sees this video will agree that this is brilliant. And I'm so happy I found it. 10 years after Stonehenge on Deram. And I'm finding these 10 years after album one by one. So I've got a few now, although still not complete when it comes to the early ones. Especially the early ones on Deram are the ones I'm very much into. Like many other collectors out there, I'm sure. So I don't have to talk that much about that one. Right, then a bit of a well, I didn't really know what this was, but it's a band called Skrotbandet. and the record called Övervintring, and it's a live album by a jazz group called Skrotbandet. It's recorded live in 1979, and it's issued on the Gothenburg company record label Nacksving. I didn't know anything about this, but it was cheap, so I bought it and I liked it very much. Latin jazz with some Afro influences, and well, it's instrumental, very good, and happy surprise if you find it. Which is not very likely unless you're in Sweden, but if you're in Sweden and you see this, and give it a go, because it's quite good, and I don't think it's that expensive either. Okay, time for an American vocal star of the past, Georgia Gibbs. This was sealed. Her nibs, Miss Georgia Gibbs, was issued on Liberty originally, although this is a Sunset reissue from the 1970s. And I have some 78 RPMs with Georgia Gibbs, and I like them. She had a great voice. This may be a bit too sweet for my taste, but she's a great singer nevertheless. Talk about great singer, or in this fact great group with a great singer, but a newer generation got hold of Bat for Lashes' latest album, The Haunted Man, on double LP on Parlophone, and somebody tipped me about Bat for Lashes, and I checked her videos on YouTube. I was really impressed by this group, and Natasha Khan, great singer, great songwriter, quality music, and very personal too. This singer, songwriter, folk dash electronica, great stuff. Oh yes, one of my findings from Uppsala, that I've been looking for this for quite some time. It's Curved Air's third album. Let's see if I can say this. Phantasmagoria. Don't know really if that's the right way to pronounce it, but on Warner Brothers from 1972. Many consider this as being their best album. When I read about it on allmusic.com, they have the definite idea that this is the best album. It's a great album. I don't know, it's their best, it's all a matter of taste. I haven't heard all the Curved Air albums, although I think by now it's just their second album that I haven't got hold of. So, but I listened to it, it's quality songs altogether, both those by Daryl Way and those by Francis Monkman. Not to mention Sonia Christina, who wrote a couple of songs by herself on this album. Great stuff. And I've heard that they've just issued a new album, Curved Air. I so hope that they will issue it on vinyl also. I haven't seen it on vinyl, but I hope they will do that sooner or later. Right. This is a bit of an odd jazz album, early jazz album. Nick Travis Quintet, Nick Travis trumpet player. American recording from RCA Victor, but this is a British issue, as you may see, probably from 1955-56. The recordings were made in 1954. It had a totally different record sleeve of the original, so I thought, okay. Then they just used this generic His Master's Voice sleeve that you found on many of the early His Master's Voice albums for the British issue. But when I've been surfing the net, I've seen British issues with the original sleeve too. So I don't know if this is some really early version that they put out in the stores before even having got hold of the original artwork. But so anyway, great stuff, great jazz. I haven't listened that much to Nick Travis Quintet, but glad I found it. Okay, I've only got 2 more records to show. This is a bit of a novelty because, well, I like him. It's the saxophone player Boots Randolph, Jackety Sax, and that's of course the famous lead motif, the signature tune of the Benny Hill Show that I remember from growing up, Jackety Sax. I had no idea it was Boots Randolph who made it because I've heard of him. We talk about more about jazz in the 1950s, but he made also that song, and this is a nice British issue. I think the original was on Monument Records, and this is a British issue on London, the American series, from 1963. Right, and then the final one is by Sergio Mendes and Brazil 66. It's called Expo 70 on A&M, and this is recorded at the Theatre Expo 70, April 5th, 1970, Osaka, and it's a Japanese issue. I think we have the song titles here in Japanese, and it's quite an, I would say it's a well-made copy, and with interesting pictures and lots of text both in Japanese and in English. But most of all, it's a very inspired performance by Sergio Mendes and Brazil 66. Really, they are playing, they're really having fun on stage, and I have to say, the Japanese audience, they are a bit reserved. They applaud very nicely, but it doesn't really sound as if they're going to unloose their tie, get up and dance to this. But if I had been in the audience at this moment, I would definitely have done that because it's really good, and they are having fun on stage, and it's a great album. I've never seen this before, although I'm not an expert on Sergio Mendes and Brazil 66. Not at all. I don't have that much by them, but I'm a great fan of the Swedish equivalent, Gimmicks, so why not listen to the original band as well. So, alright, I've been talking now for, wow, 18 minutes, but it's great fun to be back and talk to you here, and I have some interesting projects going on connected to record collecting. I hope to be able to get back to those in the quite near future. Might be of interest for those of you who show interest in my videos. But for now, I wish you all a very good day, and toodaloo and bye bye.